Welcome everyone to Anonymous Addiction on YouTube. And as you know, of course, you're watching YouTube. Tonight, we're going to be talking about Tradition 10. And I'm going to try to make it probably about 15 minutes, but everyone's going to, they always ask, why do we care about traditions? Well, ladies and gentlemen, members of Alcoholics Anonymous, or if you're going into AA, or if you're in a treatment center, going to be sent to Alcoholics Anonymous, you're joining this group, and these traditions control the group and the members. So naturally, you don't even have to read them or go to a tradition meeting, but you're abiding by the traditions, whether you like it or not, whether you know it or not. Now, like I said, you're going to be sent here for maybe some court, a doctor, a psychologist, treatment center, you know, your parents or whatever. So it's good to know these things before you enter into an organization, any organization, as I claim it to be a cult organization, any religious organization. And I'll just show you here why I think it's a religious organization, but let's get right into Tradition 10. Alcohol, this is in the 12 and 12, and this is on page 176, Tradition 10. Alcoholics Anonymous has no opinion on outside issues, hence the AA name ought never be drawn into public controversy. Now, it says, now that's the short version they wrote in the 12 and 12. I have the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. And if you go into the back of it on page 567, you have the long version of the tradition, Tradition 10. And here's the long version of Tradition 10. No AA group or member should ever, you know, they say there's no musts or no shoulds, should ever in such a way as to implicate AA expressing any opinions on outside controversial issues, particularly those of politics, alcohol reform, or sectarian religion. The Alcoholics Anonymous groups oppose no one. The Alcoholics Anonymous groups oppose no one, right? Concerning such matters, they can express no views whatsoever. So you say, well, Bobby, I don't even go to a tradition meeting. I don't even like the traditions. Who goes there? They're boring. You're still abiding by the traditions because you're sitting in an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting, and it's controlled by the 12 steps and 12 traditions and 12 concepts of Alcoholics Anonymous. Okay, so they say they say no opinion, right? Controversial issues, particularly those of politics. Well, let's talk about politics. I don't really think that they care about politics, really, because they have their own organization. It's a political system in itself. It's a government in itself. Alcoholics Anonymous is it's a society. It's a government in itself. They don't really care much about the politics. How about the reform? Well, first of all, Alcoholics Anonymous is its own reform movement. Why should they bother about other reform movements when it's his own reform movement? Rockefeller started the temperance, Alcoholics Anonymous, AA temperance movement. He got into it about 86 years ago. But prior to that, on a lot of my other podcasts, I talk about how they developed the outside mechanism to bring all the people into the triangle. Okay, so that was being developed with Marty Mann and Jernick and all the other players that promoted all the propaganda outside of building the pyramid inside. Let's talk about sectarian religion. Look up the word sectarian religion. Sectarian, relating to or characteristics of a sect, belonging to a sect, rigidly adhering to a particular doctrine, a member of a group with a particular set of interests. Now, that describes Alcoholics Anonymous. So Alcoholics Anonymous is a sect anyhow, because here's the definition of a sect. S-E-C-T. A group of people with somewhat different religious beliefs from those of larger group to which they belong. Now, I mentioned before that Alcoholics Anonymous is an extension of the Catholic Church. Okay, an extension of the Oxford group, extension of Washingtonian Society. It's an extension. It's a sect, but it's religion. Let's look up the definition of religion. It's simple. Is a society, is a social system of designated behaviors and practices, morals and beliefs, an organization that relates to humanity, to supernatural spiritual elements. Supernatural spiritual elements, somewhat like we have a power greater than ourselves. Let's see. Yeah, power greater than ourselves. God. Religion is defined too as a practice in a God. God is mentioned 136 times just in 164 pages. God in the steps. Oh, wait till we start talking about step 6 and 7. I mean, it just takes you to God. Without God, you cannot be sober. So it's definitely they don't have to go into, it's a reform movement anyhow. It's a secular religion anyhow, and it has its own political structure. Here's the thing. They want you to be silent on outside issues. They don't want to get you involved. They don't want you involved in any outside issues. Okay? Because they want to silence us. This way we don't know what's going on. We don't have to be worried about affairs that are happening in the world. We have no opinions on them. All we're doing is giving our will and our life over to the care of AA for life and recruiting others. Publicly or privately, so long as we don't argue these matters privately, we never shall publicly. They don't want you to talk about it even privately, okay? And here, like in the beginning, it says, listen to this. This forever has been no earned virtue. It could almost be said that we were born with it. For as one old timer recently declared, now, one old timer, they're going to tell us all this about what one old timer declared. Practically never have I heard a heated religious, political, or reform argument among AA members. Well, Dan, through fear, guilt, and shame, you're going to drink again if you don't abide by them. Why are you going to go talk and maybe destroy the whole program? You don't want to do that. Our goal is to keep AA whole. Since recovery from alcoholism is life itself to us, see, there's the guilt and shame. Since fear, really. Since recovery from alcoholism is life itself to us, it is imperative that we preserve in full strength our means of survival. In other words, if you start talking about politics, if you have any opinion, any ideas, any beliefs about outside issues concerning politics, government, media, any type of other reform, like maybe don't dare talk about smart recovery or any other recovery program that may be different than Alcoholics Anonymous. No, don't talk about anything. Just stick to the traditions, which are, again, express any opinion on outside controversial issues, particularly those of politics, alcohol reform, and secular religion. AA silenced the group. This is the way. This is a mechanism designed to silence the group members so they can control, knowing that the outside, all the outside of the pyramid, because it was set up and designed that way through the Hollywood, media, government, court system, we know that there's no such thing as separation of church and state. So the courts are sending individuals, even from out of prison, they're sending them to Alcoholics Anonymous. I always touch my glasses like that. It's a weird thing. They're sending the courts, which is the government, are sending people to the church of AA. Now, AA is a religion. It is a church. When I did my first fifth step with a priest, he told me, he said, Bobby, make the big book your Bible, AA your church, and you'll be fine. This is a priest. Later on, he took off his collar. It's the propaganda machine outside that brings everybody to the internal. That's why they want to silence us. They don't want to mess this thing up. Look, this thing is such a great multi-level marketing scheme that they don't want to mess it up, because, you know, in the next traditions, they'll talk about promotion, attraction versus promotion, and that's another scam in itself. As by some deep instinct, we AAs have known from the very beginning that we must never. There's no must in AA. Didn't they? I thought they said that there's no must in AA. It says it there somewhere. It's in there. It's in the books. No matter what the provocation, publicly take side in any fight, even a worthy one. Don't never talk about, show anger or resentment or anything about outside publicly with a worthy cause, like all the crap that's going on in the world, right? Don't have an opinion or belief about it. In God we trust, right on the dollar bill. There's no separation of church and state. Alcoholics Anonymous is a religion. They silence us through tradition 10. Steps: silence the mind, take control of the mind, the psychological being of the person, steals your identity. The 12 traditions takes your body and your mind and silences your voice. It silences your voice, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sure I missed a few things. You know, when I talk about manipulation, indoctrination, propaganda, here's the machine on the outside. Propaganda, information, especially of a biased or misleading nature, used to promote or publicize a particular political cause or point of view. Treatment centers, Hollywood, court systems, government agencies, psychologists, psychiatrists, doctors, lawyers. Where do they send people, ladies and gentlemen? To the pyramid. But members, don't speak out. Do not speak out, and you will stay alive, and the program can stay alive. Fear, guilt, shame. Thank you, everyone. Take care. We'll see you with Tradition 11 next. This is Alcoholics Anonymous. Please, Anonymous Addiction. Please subscribe. Anonymous Addiction. Please subscribe. We're looking for people to come on the podcast. So DM me or message me or wherever you want to contact me. Come on. I'm looking for people to come on the podcast. And check me out on Facebook. Anonymous Addiction at My Truth About AA, as Bobby C sees it. And of course, I'm Bobby C. And I say that, and I tell you on all the other podcasts, I say as Bobby C sees it because I want it to be as Bill sees it, as Jimmy sees it, as Rita sees it, as Jane sees it, as Monica sees it, as we see it. It's not as Bill sees it anymore. Those days are gone. 86-year-old myths. Bye-bye, everybody. Stay safe and healthy. See you on the rebound.